Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is Celestial Seasonings Sleepy Time Sinus Soothers, which isn't quite as good as the original Sleepy Time herbal tea, but is good for you. And my sinuses could use a little bit of soothing. Allergies have been acting up. Yay. Um, However, I have been tagged, and it's been over 3 months since I last did a tag. So it's time, right? And this tag is the 1001 Books tag. I was tagged by Kim at middle of the book March, and the original tag was by Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot. Very good channels. Check them out. So let's get started. 1001 lists. Lists. It's a word I have a hard time saying for some reason. Do you follow any book lists? Lists, this is. It can be a prize list or a challenge like the Rory Gilmore challenge. So I don't follow them per se, but I have gone on like quizzes that have like a check off the these books that you've written from this list, and it's fun because you feel a little bit accomplished, but you also see you are made aware of books that you haven't gotten to yet, and sometimes they're books that you just don't want to read, but sometimes they are books that I've had as a goal, and it's great when you do these kind of lists and then another year later you do that and you check off more. So I like that. But I don't follow them really. I'm not that into prizes, not that I'm not aware of them, but I'm not that into prizes. And by the way, excuse the sound of the radiator. It's a little, is it radiator or radiator? Radiator. Anyway, it's good that we're getting heat, but it's a little chatty. Okay, 1001 books. Approximately how many books do you currently own and how many ebooks? I have not kept track of my ebooks in a very long time. As it is, I probably have about, I don't know, maybe 40 ebooks. I hardly ever read electronically, so I don't know. But I have had a website that is now an app that I use to catalog my physical books. I guess my ebooks as well, but mostly my physical books. And it's got to be, I think it's up to around 1,500 that I currently own. A lot of books. That leads us to 1001 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime? And do you keep track? And I don't keep track the way, well, I do keep track now, but throughout my lifetime, not every year have I done so. So I can't really say, but I try to do a little math in my head, and I'm probably approaching 2,000 books. So it's almost the amount of books that I own is almost the same as the books that I've read, which, being that a lot of the books I own I still haven't read, just kind of gives me a push to want to read more of the books that I own. Let's hope I could do that a bit more in 2022. Stay tuned for some bookish goals for next year, but not today. Okay, where are we? 1001 Arabian Nights. I'm not going to break out in song. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favorite? If you haven't read it, do you want to? Well, the last question, yes, I want to. I don't think it's the book that I'm dying to get to as, much as some other books that I want to get to. However, I own it somewhere up here. And I think I'm turning my back to you, or it might be up here. I'm not sure where I have it. I'm turning my back. It's not a good idea. But anyway, and I've had it for a long time, and I keep meaning to read it. And that is the case for a lot of books that I have. I would love it if someone wanted to do a group read of it, or a buddy read, or whatever, and I would be maybe down for that. Not next month. Not for next month, but after that. Okay, where are we? I wrote them down. I'm very analog. 1001 flavors. Do you have a favorite food or flavor? I have a lot of flavors that I like. One is kind of more of a scent, which is like citrus. I really like the citrus smell, therefore I like the flavor. I know it doesn't always go hand in hand, but for me, this one particularly does. I really love a lot of like lemon drinks and orange, stuff like that. And I don't drink too many orange drinks. I had orange juice once last week. I was so happy, but it's not really good for me. Too much acid. However, if I was really going to say the favorite of all my foods, probably pizza. I just love pizza so much. I just love it. It doesn't love me. And neither does my other favorite food, which is ice cream. It doesn't, it's not something I should be eating too much of. Not just because I'm watching my weight and all that stuff. I mean, even when I was younger and I had like, I could eat everything and be a stick. Even then, sometimes this stuff was, not always great for me. A lot of parts, but I still love it. So that's the proper answer, right? What I love, and it's pizza and ice cream. A good day is a day where I've had pizza and or ice cream. Today's a good day. I had pizza before. Okay, 1001 pages. Have you read a book that is over 1001 pages? Is there one that you recommend? Is it worth the time? Would I recommend a book if it wasn't worth the time? What is the longest book you have read? I don't know which one it is because both of these books are that I'm going to mention that I for sure remember reading that are over 1001 pages, because some things I've read that came close but were actually longer because of indexes and notes or whatever. But these two books are both translated books, so I don't know which one is longest because of that. But the novel is Les Miserables, and I read that a long time ago. I do recommend it. You may have to. Sometimes there are bits if you're not interested in Paris's sewer system. It might be a little bit difficult at times. Same with like the bits about Waterloo. Maybe might be a bit much for you. A whole very long biography of a main character in the beginning of the story. But still a great story. I quite enjoyed it, reading it as a teenager. So I still think about it sometimes, like I should reread that. But and the Bible, which is weird because it's the Bible. It's like a collection of books. So does that count? But I decided to say it counts, and I do recommend it for whatever reasons that you would read it. But there's so much in it for everyone, even people who aren't religiously inclined. It has, history, actual historical people are in these books, and just good stories, poetry, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it. And just like Victor Hugo, there's some bits that might not be the easiest as far as like just curled up reading. Yes, there are the chronicles that do have a bit of like a lineage bit that can be, a little daunting, but that is a very, small portion of the Bible. So yes, definitely recommend it. It's not something you read overnight. 1001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? I'm sorry, I'm laughing. My cat is looking at this, just being silly. What is one thing on the list? So I don't really try to keep bucket lists because I hate the thought of, we don't know, when we don't normally know when we're going to die. So it's really hard to say, I need to do all these things before I die, because if you suddenly found out that it was coming really soon, all the regrets, but I have a couple of things that are sort of travel related. Well, one of them, actually, they're both travel related. I guess, and because there's a lot of like experiences, whatever. But I'm not very. I don't feel extremely strong about a lot of experiences, but I am a tea person, and I would really like to visit a place where properly tea is grown, not just like someone has a plant or two, but an actual tea garden where you can purchase tea. The leaves, to make into a pot or a cup of tea, and that wouldn't really require that much travel on my part, because there is one place not too far in the United States. It's off of, I think, South Carolina, and near Charleston. And that's one place. I mean, even when I've been to London, I could possibly go to Cornwall someday, which I would always like to do, where they grow tea now. I don't have to travel all the way to Asia, but it kind of would be. I mean, I have very little desire to be on an airplane for a long time. Um, but if I found myself in a place like China, Japan, India, where tea is has been grown for some time, especially China, because it's been grown there for so long, that would be really cool. Um, so that would be nice. And I do have a feeling that I should really visit Italy. I don't know. There's always this little urge in me, and I don't think um, I don't think it's just because I have some Italian lineage. Like, did I say lineage already on this video? Yes, but I don't think it's just because of that. Because a lot of people can't visit everywhere they were from ancestrally. I mean, come on. But would it be nice? Yes, there's a number of reasons why. I mean, I think you realize I like the food from a lot of parts of Italy. Not so much when they are seafood, but yeah, so the actual area where my great grandparents came from is Sicily, and I know there's a lot of seafood involved. But and uh and a lot of food has tomatoes, and ironically for someone whose favorite food is pizza, I cannot stand tomatoes. You know, outside of sauce, I cannot stand tomatoes. Raw tomatoes. Oh, I hate them with a thousand passions. And I just really like even thinking about like on television when someone's cutting a tomato, I get upset. So that's a little rough because even though tomatoes are not indigenous to Italy, there's just so many things now that are made from tomatoes and peppers, which I don't like either. So that was my long-winded way of saying, I wouldn't mind seeing Italy. Also, the art and the history is something I'm quite interested in. And I mean, the land looks beautiful from what I've seen. There's a lot of places that you could say the same for, but that it's up there. But I don't see it happening anytime soon. Um, okay, I'm not really into the question about the numbers, so I'm going to skip that. 1001 authors. Do you have a favorite author and or genre? And could be a whole discussion. I don't really like claiming, just like, I mean, I said my favorite food is pizza, but if someone told me that I could live off of pizza my whole life, which you probably could, you know, if you add certain things to it, but I might actually get tired of it. So it's hard to really just say, this is my favorite author, because I feel like it makes it sound like this is the person I could read all the time. Even though I love this person's writings, all of their books are books I could read over and over again. A good portion of the year I don't read their books. So still, if I had to, I would say Jane Austen. I think that, I mean, aside from some of her juvenilia, which is not always interesting to me, not always, when it came to her published novels, she could do no wrong. I mean, seriously, to me, I'm not saying that there's not one part of it that I get occasionally impatient with, but her prose, her dialogue, her characters, I just love. I just love so much. So she is who I would say, but there's so many wonderful writers out there, and so many writers that I've read more of than Jane Austen's work, only because they had more work published than her. But still, yeah, definitely would be. I don't have a favorite genre. I can't, because I love history, I love biography, and I love mystery books, and I love a lot of literature in 19th century classics, and some modern classics, and I don't know what genre exactly they fall into. Sometimes science fiction even falls in there, but not very often. So yeah, it's really hard for me to narrow that down. Uh, so yeah, a variety. 1001 activities. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity? Yes, walking. That's it, walking. Um, I'm not really sports inclined. I have a really difficult time when it comes to coordination and balance. If I was able to balance better, I'd probably say riding bikes, but I can't uh, ride a bike because I have balance issues. Um, and maybe someday I will be able to, but I doubt it. And because of my poor hand-eye coordination, sports are not really enjoyable for me because I'm always not doing great. If there was no competition and I was outside or inside, doesn't matter to me, with maybe another friend and we were just shooting hoops, honestly, I would enjoy that very much. I have done that before, and I do like that feeling, um, especially if you're with someone you don't need to impress. But outside of that, I really do like walking. I love the feeling of, I mean, if the weather is at all hospitable, I should say, if it's pouring rain out, it's really cold, really hot. But if I'm wearing comfortable clothes and shoes that I can walk in and I'm not carrying that much, to me, I could just walk for hours and hours. And I hope I can always do that. You know, there are people who they get older and they're not able to do as much, but they can still walk. And I hope if I do have to age, that that is the case for me. Um, I know I come from a long line of walkers. My father was a big walker. My grandfather was a big walker. And some of the females, both sides of the family were quite walkable too. Yeah, I took a lot of walks with my mom. Uh, and yeah, I live in a walkable city. New York City, not all of it, but a good chunk of it is just great for walking. My neighborhood in Queens is pretty good, but it's sometimes fun just to go into Manhattan when you have all the time that you need and just pick an avenue and just keep going until you get hungry, and then you stop at a restaurant or a little place, or get a cup of tea because there's usually somewhere you can go, maybe, or coffee, and just walk. It feels good. I remember so many conversations. If I've walked with somebody, I remember the conversations I've had. I remember the thoughts I've had. It does something to my mind that is a good thing. So yes, if you are physically able to walk and you live in an area where walking is possible, so recommended. So that is my version of the tags. I've seen so many people tagging this, as always, that I probably would just double tag people. So if you haven't been somehow tagged and you would like to do this, obviously this is your opportunity to do it. You are tagged. Okay, and that is all for now. Me and my sinuses are going to continue being soothed or something. And this is Catherine taking tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book-filled day.